It's the final day here at the Heroes Global Championship of Week 9, and our day is jam-packed with awesome matches coming your way. Here in Europe looking good, but Korea earlier looked great, Kaldor.
Yeah, Korea was absolutely fantastic. We had MVP Black going up against L5, and it was a pretty intense series. L5 is probably a bit upset that they weren't able to clutch out a victory on map 4. It looked extremely good for them. But then Tiz with a 4-man mosh pit just sealed the deal, and MVP Black took the series with a 3-1 victory.
We also got to see Morales' grenade build just showing off that you can't quite focus on Morales. Let's go ahead and look at the standings here for Europe as we prepare for the day. Now, Fnatic, who continues to dominate in Europe, will be playing today against the Zealots at the number 6 seed. And they're 11-1, and just to give you perspective of how dominant they are this season, they're 34-8 between all of their games in Phase 2. The next team after that is Dignitas with a 28-20. That is ridiculous.
And Fnatic, they have barely lost any games ever since they started the Western Clash. They are 31-2 right now. The only 2 maps that they lost were actually against Dignitas right after the Western Clash. Ever since then, they haven't dropped a single map. They haven't even dropped a map as a Western Clash itself, so Fnatic is absolutely dominant here. Then again, we had an upside in the first season when the Playing Ducks were able to take them down. If that happens again today and the Zealots are able to get a victory over Fnatic, that would mean that Zealots are confirmed for the playoffs, that there's no chance of them dropping into the Crucible. And of course with Dignitas, we also have a couple of things that are on the line here. If Dignitas is winning today, then they would qualify for BlizzCon. They would get that 2nd spot.
Let's go ahead and look at the schedule and see what matches you will be able to watch and win. Starting off today, Zealots and Fnatic. Again, Zealots wanting to get this win if they can, but with the performance on Friday, I don't know if they'll be able to pull it off against Fnatic. Zarmany in particular did not look as strong as he normally does.
Yeah, Zarmany actually was in that. He was a bit shaky in a few of the games for sure, but then again, they also played with the sub player. They will do the same thing today once again.
Lauber.
Yeah, Lauber, exactly, the player from the Open Division from Team Leftovers. Dignitas versus Liquid after that, and we have Gale Force for North America going up against Roll20. And Gale Force did not look good yesterday. Going up against Lag Force, it went to the 5th map, and for a long time, it actually looked as if Lag Force would take the series. And then Gale Force came back and was able to finish out the game on Sky Temple, I believe. And so today is going to be an interesting one. Roll20 against GFE, that is going to show off some fireworks.
Yeah, it could have been Gale Force may have been unexpecting what exactly came their way. Lag Force just looked a little bit better than normal for sure and really came out with the first 2 couple of wins, but the reverse sweep came in for Gale Force. They are boot camping this weekend to set up for that Roll20 match today. And
then also when we're talking about the BlizzCon chances of the teams in North America, especially when we're looking at Team Freedom, they have been doing really well.
Yeah.
And to be honest, looking at the results, to me, it was even a bit surprising because after we came back from Western Clash, where they did extremely well, they immediately lost their first series without even taking a map against Roll20. And for me personally, when I saw that, I was just like, all right.
You checked out.
They performed well at one of the events, and now it's over. That was basically just like their highlight. They had, I don't know, just a good run, but this is basically it. And then at some point, so I started personally focusing a lot more on Roll20. I looked at Gale Force again, and Team Freedom was just like coasting by in the back of my head at some point. And then I looked at their standings and I was just like, wait a second. Ever they lost to them, they didn't even drop a single map.
They've been
like,
crushing.
What's going on? These guys are completely dominating right now when it comes to results. So we have Gale Force, Roll20, and Team Freedom all the way up at the top right now, fighting for those 2 direct spots for BlizzCon. And it's a pretty intense battle at this point.
Can't forget about Timbo Storm either, but North America will continue later on today. Let's look at EU, as we're going to start this matchup against Fnatic and Zealots as they move into their match, and they have words to share with you guys.
Against Fnatic, to be honest, the match, I don't expect us to take it, but we will try to get some maps from them. I mean, we will of course try to win, but they're obviously the favorites, and even more now that we have to play with a substitute. Personally, I enjoy playing in my team, Zealots, because we've been playing together for a long time now, since Open Division. I consider all of them my friends now. I have a lot of fun playing with them. I think we have stepped up a lot, we have improved, we have gotten good synergy together, and overall it's a team I'm happy with, and I feel really comfortable playing on.
The match against Zealots is an interesting one, because Zealots as a team has been improving very much since the start of HGC, but them not having Mopsy available will definitely hurt them, as he's their shot caller and strat caller. I think if we lost Quacknix, we would definitely be a worse team. I think Without Quack, we definitely would not be the same team at all. And for our part, we're probably not gonna go out using all of our pocket strats who we will try to save for BlizzCon. Going to BlizzCon for the team is huge. It's what we've focused on this entire year. It has been our end goal for each and every one. And the last year at BlizzCon, where we came second, was one of our best experiences of our lives.
Exactly. Since the start of Phase 2, Fnatic and even Team Liquid, that was the major goal for them. They kept talking about BlizzCon. Team Liquid has fallen off the boat a little bit, and we had that one moment against the Playing Ducks where Fnatic lost out against the Ducks, but ever since then, man, they have kept that goal up, and they have consistently been putting up the results. So today, I don't expect anything different.
And to be honest, the loss against the Ducks couldn't have come at the better time for Fnatic.
It
was right before the Western Clash, and for them it was just a bit of a wake-up call where they realized, okay, we can't take this lightly. Because at this point, they had won every single game that they played thus far, and that was also one of these issues where it's extremely easy to get a bit complacent and not really focus on the next upcoming matches that much. After they lost to the Ducks, they realized, okay, guys, we still need to focus on everything here. They prepared for the Western Clash, and they showed up in strength. They didn't drop a single map there, and ever since then, they only lost 2 maps against Dignitas, and that was it. So they're going to try and continue their trend here today with another 3-0 victory. But the Zealots, they're looking good with Lauber.
That they are. Let's go ahead and check out the cheers for our team. Zealots consistently having cheers come in. Snitch is still at number 2, but Tornheim with the number 1. 17,000 bits have been cheered for Zealots.
Yeah, the Zealots definitely getting quite a few fans here, and right now also with their sub Lauber, they're doing a great job here. They fit in really well with the team. They nearly defeated the Playing Ducks actually just this weekend, but in the end the Ducks clutched out a victory with a 3-2, which was incredibly impressive since they now switched roles and have Sportbilly on the tank.
And Fnatic, here they are, Gladman at the very top with 82,700, and he also cleared the million mark altogether with his bid. So Gladman continuing to rock in the cheers.
What's the next stop for that guy? 2 million, 1.5? Like, well, where do you go from there?
5 million.
Okay.
Just go for it. All the way up
Sure.
there. Gladman, of course, bringing in the cheers, but a huge thank you to everyone who has cheered for our teams. They appreciate it. I know we do here at the HGC. Now, we are getting ready for our best of 5 series. The first battleground, it has been picked. Let's go ahead and see where we're going. It's going to be Dragonshire, as Fnatic will get the choice. And this is interesting. Fnatic stayed away from Dragonshire for a long time. In fact, they used to ban it out.
Yeah, but at this point, again, they are qualified for BlizzCon, so they are going to try a few more things and will also test that now in the environment of HGC. They have said after qualifying that they're going to take a small step back, that they will still practice for their matches, they will still do their best, but they are willing to, first of all, practice a bit less so that they don't get burned out before they head into BlizzCon. And they also have an opportunity to just experiment a little bit more in the actual games. And this is something that we now see also with Dragonshire coming in. A map that they traditionally banned out, now they can give the map a shot, not only in an scrim environment, but also in the actual game.
Yeah.
Because the one thing with scrims is always, that's actually what a lot of pros talk about. It's where you can train and where you have a practice environment, but at the same time you already know that not all your opponents and maybe not even all of the players on your own team are going to pour the same amount of dedication and concentration into a practice game that they will do when you are playing either in a tournament or in the league. So this is for them even more of an opportunity to just field test new strategies and also how they fare on certain maps.
So, Caldor, you just dropped all of that knowledge, and I just got a big update. Apparently, the map choice is the Zealots, which would make more sense as their battleground. But still, Fnatic not banning it out, that still fits.
Exactly. And, I mean, still holds. If they don't ban it out, I would have not minded if they directly chose it. And since they didn't ban it out, I would actually have assumed that if they lose a map, they would probably have chosen it anyways.
Yeah.
Just to field test it a little bit. Since, again, there is a chance that at BlizzCon, eventually, they have to, against a certain team, ban out a map that the other team is extremely good at, and then it always is good if you have some strategies prepared for Dragonshire. Think about Galeforce, for example. Galeforce came into the Western Clash and they had Brax's Holdout as their key map at that point, where even the European teams struggled against them. If you know that an opponent's team has a map they're this good at, then you are considering banning that specific map out, and that would bring Dragonshire back into the map pool. So Fnatic now not banning it out today and experimenting a bit on it, I actually like that.
Well, here we go. First draft popping up, Dragonshire. Now, with Lauber being in, we did see him play 3 different tanks on Friday. We saw him with ETC, Johanna, and then Muradin for the final pick on the 5th Battleground. Now, Fnatic, is going to take the ETC as well on their side if they can. So we will have that huge contestant that happens constantly between our teams.
Yeah, for Fnatic, we could definitely see still some changes in the way that they draft. Some minor things where they are saying, okay, let's not take Hero X, let's prioritize a different one here for today. But for the Zealots, of course, there's a lot on the line here. If they can win today, they would move out of the potential Crucible ranks. They would definitely be in the playoffs, and that's something that they're trying to achieve. Upsetting Fnatic is always a really tall order, but they will do what they can. Fnatic, on the other hand, now taking their sweet time with the first ban here. Actually a bit uncharacteristic, and I think that comes back to them maybe rethinking their strategies a little bit and experimenting with new things.
The ban is going to be Tassadar. Bit of a normal ban for them, especially on this battleground, and one that you might need against Zealots. They will run the double support if they can. We'll say double support has been getting a little bit less traction in the last couple of weeks. It seems like our teams are getting much better at being coordinated and trying to focus down a target.
Yeah, I would agree. We still see an abundance of double support compositions for sure, but it's not the we have to play double support or we're going to lose the game anymore. Before that, Fnatic was the team that basically the only team that was really willing to play without a double support. I think the Ignitas at some point started to move away from it slightly, but always brought it in when they felt the need. But Fnatic, they stated over and over again that double support is something that they occasionally play, but they don't feel the need to really go all in on it, and they feel that they have a lot of strategies that counter double support and that their coordination is just strong enough to deal with it quite successfully.
All right, so Fnatic looking at their first pick here. And typically in the past, it has always been that ETC into the Dahaka. Both of them are great heroes for Fnatic when they have the best players in the region when it comes to those heroes. But again, with Fnatic coming in here, we might see them adapt a little bit and try to experiment. If there was to be any experimenting happening, what would you say would be a first pick? Pretend that ETC didn't happen.
Okay, pretending that ETC didn't happen. I actually think that in the beginning of the draft, you still have to stick with
the foundation.
With the foundation, exactly. If you branch out and you are trying a few new strategies, normally those picks happen later on in the draft. At the beginning, you want to have a solid base, and you also don't want to give the best picks over to your opponent. So I would have been surprised if Fnatic goes completely out of meta here. ETC as a first pick is a great choice. I could have seen them with Dahaka instead. Maybe even prioritize Leoric, as we've been talking about him quite a lot, a bit higher even. But I would say if Fnatic branches out at all, they're going to do that towards the 4th and the 5th pick.
Normal response with Uther and Dahaka. Our top lane is already set up here with Zarmany and then Uther for the Zealots, so they'll be able to move into a second support if they want to and be able to get in a pretty solid position for their hyper carry that usually comes out from them. Fnatic on the right side now, already having their ETC, and I'm just curious to see what we're going to get from Quatnix. He loves to see, it seems like he changes it up every week when he wants to play. So Lunara for one weekend, Avala for another weekend, there was Greymane for a good period of time. We've even been seeing a little bit more Mage from him lately, the Gul'dan.
Yeah, and also they are one of the two teams that play quite a bit of Falstad as well, so we could see that on a big map here too, trying to get another global hero that allows you to push lanes and make sure that you put more pressure on them, especially of course when you can play around the shrines then later on as well. But we have Vala still available. They go into the ETC and Arthas combination right off the bat though, and so they have a lot of frontline control. Rhaegar being chosen by them, the best support outside of Uther, is absolutely fantastic for them. So now they have already a lot of sustain for the frontline. They have a lot where they can just create space for any kind of carry that they want to play in the back. So we could see a Vala from them, we could see Lunara chosen. There's a lot of options for them now that they have ETC and also, in this case, Arthur's taken.
Yeah, with this pick, the foundation that we were talking about earlier is great here for Fnatic. They're able to move into whatever they would like, which makes it hard for the ban phase for the Zealots. You usually at this point will try to ban something in a way that you don't want to deal with, because there's nothing that really synergizes too much for this already that is very evident.
There's a few other things that we also have to consider. With this particular pattern already, Dahaka taken for the Zealots and Fnatic now taking Arthas, we're pretty sure that Leoric, for example, is not going to make an appearance in the draft. And he was a key hero for most of the other teams that so far played this weekend. It's also interesting that with the composition that Fnatic is currently running, they could also head into a combo that focuses on either even Jaina, but more so Tyrande. You can run Tyrande and then try to go for the lockdown with Arthas, with ETC, get the Tyrande stun in. That would also allow you to have, so to say, a pseudo second support with Rhaegar, and then you can go into hyper carry. But as we have Lunara banned out, there's of course an opportunity for the Zealots to now take Vala for themselves. and that would take one of those strong auto attackers, one of the sustained damage dealers away from Fnatic and limit their options a little bit towards that hyper carry.
Yeah, Fnatic will still have options, but the Vola being taken away is good. Poik, great on the Vola, and 2, keeping it away from Fnatic, always a great choice. Lunara makes sense if you just think about it in terms of what they could do with the composition already set up. Arthas ETC sticks to targets like crazy, and you want to have a Lunara, if you are going into, that has that front line that's able to build out those poisons, of course, slow down your opponent. At 13, you can move into extra damage if need be. So a good ban here from Zealots, and Fnatic answer back with an Abathur.
It's also when you're running Uther, you are a bit more weary about going up against Lunara if you plan on running him as the only healer in the combo. Now, of course, the Zealots could still add a second healer. There's an abundance of opportunities and options for them what they could combo that with. But if you still want to have at least the option of running solo healer, then getting Lunara out of the picture is probably a good idea, unless you run a lot of very self-sustaining heroes up at the front. Dehaka is one of them. Maybe if they run into a Johanna here at their front line, they could use that too. But for now, we're talking about Chromie and Greymane taken. Chromie being played quite a bit by the teams right now after the rework. So we've seen her played by Team Liquid. Norok actually doing really well with her. We've seen Chris playing Chromie, and he was fantastic on the hero. In this case now, the Zealots trying their luck on her.
So our third Chromie of the weekend, as well as Zealots showing her off, looking to get some damage and soften up their opponents and maybe go in for a kill later on if they do find some isolation. You can combo that Rhaegar down too. Temporal Loop could work against him as well. The cleanse, of course, will be a factor on other targets, but still something that you can pull off if you want to focus the Rhaegar.
Yeah, so with Chromie, also we are now in a situation where ETC Stage Dive is becoming extremely powerful to jump into that backline. There are some stuns available though for the Zealots, so they can try and react to that by focus on ETC right away. Not only protecting Chromie, but at the same time also attempting to maybe even burst him out.
All right, 4th and 5th pick coming in. We're looking for some damage for Fnatic. Wave Clear is always good if they want to go down that mage route. Gul'dan's fine, but an auto attacker as expected. There it is. It's the Vola, and there's the Tyrande.
Yeah, so exactly what we talked about earlier. That's the combo that I wanted to see them with. It's also why I expected Vola to maybe be taken by Zealots, but it seems that the ban on Lunara was more so targeted towards allowing Uther as a solo heal. But this is exactly the composition that I was advocating earlier when we saw Rhaegar and Arthas being picked. Because now you have a lot of stuns that you can follow up with the stun on Tyrande herself. You have also fantastic opportunities to interrupt a Dragon channel in the middle. You will get your stacks. Shwimpy is strong on the hero too, and we have a double support for Vala.
Expecting the Johanna here for the 5th pick. There it is. The Wave Clear is great on Dragonshire, but even better when you have a Chromie in your composition. You want to be able to hold that front line and be in a spot where she's able to set up her targets and hit her skill shot. So, draft looking good for both of our teams. Don't mind them in any case. I think a lot of pressure is going to be on the Zealots here to actually get the kills that they're wanting to look for. Chromie will be able to soften up their opponents, but with Rhaegar being on their side, that can be kind of annoying to deal with.
And also you have not only Rhaegar, you have also Tyrande now with this, so you can really work around it quite a lot. And I like what Fnatic has. It's an extremely dangerous composition in any team fight. As you said, Chromie is going to be able to soften the entire front line up a bit. And I feel that's exactly what Zealots have to rely upon right now. If they don't get the early damage in with Chromie, these fights are going to be extremely difficult for them. Maybe if they are able to move in with Dehaka for a flank against Tyrande, against Vala, they have a chance here. But overall, Fnatic has an extremely solid lineup, and I think for the Zealots to take this, they need to get kills through Chromie, or at least being able to just chunk someone down to an extent where they have a really good setup for a team fight and can get an early kill.
Yeah, my hope is that they come out firing, looking for the kills on their opponents, trying to at least get everyone to back up a little bit, open up the map too with the turrets. Chromie should be safe here, especially in that bottom lane with the turrets being up, but the moment they lose those forts, that's where I'm having some fear based on the competition that I see for Fnatic. Let's go ahead and go into game number 1. It's going to be Dragonshire, best of 5 series here as Zealots is facing off against Fnatic.
Game number 1, everybody. Dragonshire is our first map, and to the left it's the Zealots with Grand Paquette on Uther, Lauber on Johanna, the sub-player. We have Poik on Chromie, Sarmony on Dehaka for the offlane, and of course Shad, last but not least, on Greymane.
On the right side, in the red, it will be Fnatic. Mexi coming in here playing the Rhaegar. Wubby will be playing Arthas. Breeze on ETC. Shwimpy will show us Tyrande with that Owl build, and Quatnix will be your Vola player.
So in case that you haven't caught up on it just yet, Mopsio is not playing with the team here today. He was actually banned because he, misconduct. So in this case, he was not allowed to play this weekend. And therefore, the Zealots had to find another player that can run that frontline tank for them, and they decided on the tank player for Team Leftovers, the #1 open division team that we have in Europe right now. Lauber did a very good job with the Zealots going up against the playing Ducks, but in the end, the Ducks were able to win the 5th map. So it was a 3-2 loss for the Zealots here, but still pretty impressive how well Lauber fit in with the rest of the team. And now, of course, they have to go up against Fnatic here today, which is going to be pretty difficult one way or another.
Yeah, I was kind of curious how that series unfolded on Friday. First, we were watching Lauber and see how he would fit in as a tank player for the Zealots, but it wound up being, by the end of the series, the Sport Billy show, as he was the warrior that we wound up focusing on. But Lauber still did great. Nothing impressive in terms of showing up, except on the ETC at a couple of mosh pits, but he didn't do anything to throw the game here for the Zealots. He looked pretty good, and he fit in nicely.
And he's, especially since he also had, of course, a lot of shot caller duties for the team there, it was pretty impressive that the coordination and communication was on point, considering that they only had 2 days where they could practice with him. So that was something that stood out to me. In this setup right now, we are already seeing quite a bit of aggression from Fnatic, rotating between the mid and the bot lane. Up to the top, we're having currently the traditional solo lane, as Greymane is making his way down to the bottom. And in this setup now, the Arrow build for Vala, Owl build for Tyrande, Proc Rock on ETC, just trying to make sure that they are getting some of the best and strongest talents here in. And of course, it also means a lot of stacking going on the side of Fnatic.
Fnatic's roam squad really killing it right now as they continue to move around. Shouldn't be following Breeze, looking for that opportunity for a power slide into a Lunar Flare. And the result of the pressure has made the Zealots play a bit more defensive, which means that Fnatic has grabbed both shrines. No kills coming out, so we shouldn't see a dragon picked up, but you already see that Zealots, they are playing much more timid than normal.
Yeah, they definitely do, and against Fnatic you have to. Fnatic is one of these teams, when you give them a chance, they will immediately pounce on you, and they get a huge and massive lead that they usually run to close out the game. So, especially after level 10, they are extremely dangerous, and if you give them already a lead in the early game, then your chances of making it out are slim to none. Shad might find himself in trouble here, but is able to move out of the stun range, as we see Shrimpy going for another quick Lunar Flare here that, unfortunately for Fnatic, doesn't connect.
Wubby will take the top shrine with Zarmany contesting him. Turns around and then starts the engage. Not able to grab it, actually, as Zarmany beats him away from the area, but with Fnatic having 2 in the middle, no dragon should be picked up. Zealots, again, not really finding that opportunity to get a kill themselves or even move in for the dragon. So we're having our constant tug-of-war between our teams, and they're holding pretty okay.
Yeah, so we have Celestial Attunement taken for Tyrande now too, so you have to be really careful if you actually want to play Isolation with the Haka. Just another thing to point out here. In the meantime, down to the bottom of the map, the Shrine taken again by the Zealots. Poik is trying to get his stacks on Chromie. So far, not really all too successful. He's currently sitting at 9 stacks for the Sand Blast. Seen quite a bit more on it in the past by other players, but of course he is going to be able to just rack that up quite heavily once that we have actual team fights on the map.
Zarmany does find a drag. They're looking for Smexy. Shad's getting him low, but not enough available here with Quacknix helping out his support. Rhaegar's able to get away, and Zealots commit to a 3-man gank in the middle, get nothing out of it, and are going to be a weird spot as the Shrine gets grabbed in the top. They need to see someone up there as Wubby's pushing in top lane.
Yeah, Breeze zoning for the rest of the team here. The Zealots are trying to force something, but in this case they actually can't. We already have Zarmany in a bit of trouble as Wubby is starting to body block him. Tyrande is making his way over, and Wubby is still with the body blocks here, trying to see if he can land another Howling Blast, and does. But Shrimpy is just a bit too far away to connect with the stun, and all of a sudden it's Smexy who's in trouble. The stun connects, but it might not be enough for Smexy. Rhaegar goes down, and that's the first kill in the game.
Fnatic actually set that up pretty impressively to get a kill, but Zealots committed more than they expected. So we saw Wubby body blocking Dehaka, heading to the top, but Tyrande sat in the bush in the middle of the lane. They're looking for that Uther that was going to rotate up or some member to go in for a kill. And Fnatic went in for the engage, but they brought Shad as well. They brought 3 people to rotate towards that top side, and Zealots were able to turn around and get a kill. Nicely done by them. Meanwhile, though, Fnatic did grab the shrines, and they were attempting to go for a dragon. Nothing gets picked up. And Zealots fight back again with their own shrine control.
Yeah, it was a good interrupt by Lauber here, going for the quick flashlight with the blind and interrupting long enough so that Chromie could take the shrine at the bottom of the map. Lauber holding back his level 7, usually goes into Sin's exposed, and that's exactly what he does now again. Was actually seeing if he maybe changes up his MO here, but it's his stat.